Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
There's something about those nice round numbers that feel good to reach. Today marks a special one for our organizers who have been plugging away at this virtual series for 4 impressive years. Today, they hit the double digits as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Sport Class live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Cameron Aubernon is on social media, and Ryan Bauer is producing while using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But before we get to the racing, Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. Find out more at 4Porsche.com or follow at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Also, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their 6 best races this season. For more information, head to sixsigmasimracing.com. That's the number 6, sigmasimracing.com. Well, we are here at Road America. We've already seen 2 great races at this track, so we know that we're in store for a good one, DJ.
Yeah, we certainly do. This is a track that offers experience like no other, Joe. Plenty of places to overtake from turn 1 down into turn 5. We've even seen some moves going down into the hurry downs and down into Canada Corner. But we've got to watch here as we take a look on board with Daniel Nix. This is going down into Canada Corner. You can see just how tricky of a braking zone that is. So you've got to be very, very careful around here. And one of the big things that's really come to pass in the previous races that we've had, Joe, you got to watch out for the kink. That curve will get you almost every time.
Absolutely. It definitely is eating up a few cars in the first 2 races that we saw. Nix coming around and sits in 4th, about half a second off the pole. Top is really finding good time amongst each other. And this lap is still better than his last one, which was his personal best, but he does not take that 3rd place away from Crummell. Gerling is the one that holds the provisional pole with a 2:04.2. It's really the top 4 drivers that have kind of stretched away. The rest of the field, I think it's something in the realm of about 23 cars that are within a second of each other, DJ.
Yeah, it's really, really remarkable here at this point, just how close all of these drivers are. We don't necessarily have the same tightness up at the top of the field necessarily, but certainly down through the rest of the field as we watch Eli Peacock here in 34th place. Just to give you an idea, he's only 26 thousandths of a second off of David Palmer right up ahead of him.
And this has been kind of a theme so far last week and seems to be carrying on into this week because the top 30 in the club class, the first race that we've had here at Road America, were all within a second. The top 25 in the pro were all within a second of one another. So it's proving to be just an altogether closer together field here with these GT3Rs starting in Series 10, which you love to see because that means better racing all around. Just saw Will Kelly promote himself up into 8th now with a 2:05.1 as we continue to watch Peacock. Looks like only Matthew Scott in the 45 still needs to set a time. All other of the 42 drivers have managed to put one on the board. So what about the number 8 machine? Looks like he is going to improve to a 205.5 that actually jumps him way up into 16th.
Well, as we've talked about, Joe, with just the very almost infinitesimal margins here on the field, just that little bit of improvement can help you. Here is Andrew Elsom. Now, he's got a little bit of a larger gap to try to make up, about 2.5 tenths up to Jason Finch. But as I watch Elsom here, not seeing any green laps, so probably not going to improve here. 6th will be the best that the 54 can do.
Yeah, they just about have the checkered flag coming out. Now, they can complete their hot laps. And this means that for Elsom, it is worth trying to go around one more time. But he does look like he's slow on this lap, even out of the final corner. He lost quite a bit, which if he's slow off that corner, that means this lap is also going to see a bit of a rough start. So that's going to be hard for him. Who's going to be our first to take the checkered flag? Looks like Andy Green, who was within the top 10 at one point, but has now fallen backwards. And he is going to stay in 13th as his lap does not count and his qualifying is done.
Yeah, unfortunate there for him. There are some areas you can pick up an off-track around this Road America circuit, and for the most part, those are going to be by running too wide on the corners. That's where you're going to see a lot of that come to bear. Here's Steve Komatz in the 210. Great camera angle there by our director, Ryan Bauer. Really nice, but not as great of a line there for Komatz, as he's going to do exactly what I said, running wide on the exit. He's going to have to hope that his time's still going to count.
I'm not seeing him doing pretty hot right now, and as he crosses the line, doesn't look like he'll improve. Boccieri actually is one I think maybe we should keep an eye on. He's currently showing about 3 to 4 tenths faster than his quickest lap, and he's 8 tenths behind Gerling right now, so he could jump up, I think, into the front 2 rows if he can keep this clean.
Yeah, he very well may be only coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend here at this point. Let's see if he's able to keep that car together as he's going to come up through the final corner now. Careful not to get on the throttle too early. Going to bring that car out wide onto the rumble strips. That's about perfect there for Carl. I think this could be a good lap for him.
I'm still showing him now a half a second up. He's improving more and more. What's this going to be? A 2:04.7. And that is good enough for 5th place, just outside of those front 2 rows.
Yeah, good run there for Carl. That'll be pretty satisfying there for him. We've got a few more coming across the line there. John Gibson, Chad Casey on coming across right now. Looks like we're not going to see an improvement there out of those two. Now Warren Preston and Thomas LeMay are going to come across, as is Andy Green, who we think is the last driver here to be able to finish a lap.
Preston not able to go any faster. And I believe Thomas LeMay not able to either. So Andy Green, indeed, the last to be able to try and finish this one out. He is going to take it down to the line. Sits in 13th place, has 14 thousandths to make up just to 12th. Can this be good enough? The answer is no. He is done, and he does not improve. So our grid is now set here for the 3rd race of this first event, and Adam Gerling is on the pole. J.R. Gregory starts next to him, then Curtis Crummell will start in 3rd. Daniel Nix, P4. Carl Boccieri in his final lap of the qualifying will put him into 5th. Jason Finch starts P6, and Andrew Elsom in 7th, and it's Will Kelly P8, and Michael Adams 9th. Joel Bergeron will round out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it'll be Jeff Williams, followed by David Boyer, with Andy Green, Steve Komatz, and David Palmer rounding out your top 15. Eli Peacock will line up 16th, then it's Patrick Kill. Kevin Yokel will be 18th, with Nick Whitehill behind him, and John Gibson to round out your top 20.
And here you'll see the last of the field. As we mentioned, quite a large one, 43 drivers out racing today. Basically a NASCAR field that they've got lining up. And it will be a rolling start, but don't expect that to be the case for all races. They'll be switching back and forth between the standing and rolling starts, as well as next time the sport drivers come together, they're going to be in the GT4 Cayman at VIR instead of this car. So there's going to be a lot of variances that to keep the drivers on their toes here in Series 10. As they start to grid up, one more reminder that PCA Sim Racing social media offers in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. All right, so after what we saw with the races in the club and the pro, DJ, I'm excited to see what the sport guys have in store.
Yeah, I am as well, Joe, and we're going to be talking here a lot about today about keeping up the distance to the driver in front of you, making sure you don't lose that crucial draft range down the long straightaways. That's going to be pretty crucial for these drivers. The other thing to keep in mind here is just minimize those mistakes, especially on the opening laps. This field is so big, it's so bunched up right at the drop of the green flag. Very, very easy to find yourself getting into, well, you mentioned NASCAR earlier, a NASCAR-style big one around here.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the pit stops, we can't forget how critical those have been. The driver who led the club race for the vast majority of it came out from the pits in 5th. And even he admitted he was kind of shocked to see that and wound up, I think, on the podium in 3rd in the end. So that will very much have an effect on this race as some of the field's got to catch back up here to those top 2 on the right-hand side. Hopefully they will catch up pretty soon. They have to wait a little bit before they are given the green, and still our second place driver of Gregory is finally catching up. Green flag is out, and he's almost a car length back from Adam Gerling. That was very strange there from the start. Someone diving down to the inside, trying to cover off there in the mid-pack as we head towards the first corner. Gerling still has that desired line. Gregory looks like he might be able to retain second, but Krummel's going to fight him for it. No, he backs off as they head down into 3. Big attack from Boccieri as he tries to find position down there in 4th.
Yeah, looks like he's going to be able to make that play here for the moment. A little bit of side-by-side down through turn 3, but everybody able to escape the first real danger zone, that being the run through turn 2 cleanly. I spoke too early, though. We've got drivers around in the back. That's Polis, Teague, Eskridge, it looks like.
And I think potentially it looks like Poulos. Nope, it was... Kruzler, who also unfortunately got into a little bit of trouble there. Already up through turn 6. As let's see if we get out of 5 as well. This one is clean, so turn 3 seems to be the problem corner this time around. Meanwhile, Gerling leads Gregory and Krummel down the hurry downs into turn 8. Not much distance between them still.
No, not much distance here as they go down into the carousel, as there's a little bit of side-by-side there. Boccieri having to fend off an attack from Nix, and this is going to be an area here where you've got to be careful. Aero wash on these cars is going to be something that we talk about here at this point, and that you've got to get some clean air on the front of these cars, especially through the carousel and the kink.
Latest problem goes to the 45 of Matthew Scott, who gets turned around in the gravel trap outside of turn 8, unfortunately. And all that distance that we saw at the start has really put a wide gap. Oh, and Andy Green unfortunately caught out in the kink. Most people seem to be able to get by. Oh, no, I spoke too soon as well. And no, this is Canada Corner. How in the world? And it's completely prone across the track. We've got massive accidents there coming down to this right-hander.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We'll have to go back and check out a replay to figure out exactly what happened, but absolute calamity down through the field, and that's not going to affect these top 3 runners. They're off into the clear, and they're off into their own race.
That was, I was going to say Steve Komatz, but no, it was Joel Bergeron, who was prone across the track. And that actually came from avoiding Andy Green, it looks like. So we'll go and take another look at it. So it was involving Andy Green, who initially had the first part of that incident. Unfortunately, not the clean start we were hoping for. We're going to take a look at the replay. So there's Green spinning off. And then the car avoiding him is the one that gets spun around and winding up at perhaps one of the worst places possible.
Yeah, that's one of the highest speed sections of the circuit there, and you have got to really, really be careful not to get into trouble. You see all of the chaos cars flipping there because that's almost a blind corner there coming down through Kettle Bottoms. At the speed you're going, you can't really see all that way through it, and just, an absolute parking lot there.
Yeah, well, it could have been a lot worse, I will admit, and many of the incidents seem to be cars trying to get slowed up more than anything. But it did send a number of them into pit lane, where they thankfully have a spare car in this series to help them out. But it's not the way you want to run it, because now they've still got to make an extra pit stop after this for fuel later on. Meanwhile, this is the front of the pack. Gerling leads Gregory, leads Crummell, and they've dropped Daniel Nix to the tune of 2.3 seconds. We have a challenge for the lead as Gregory tries to go around the outside down into Canada corner. Can he actually make this one stick offline? He does.
Wow, that is surprising aggression here this early on from J.R. Gregory. He does not want to wait around, and I was about to bring up the point there, Joe, that Curtis Crummell looked like he was falling back in the order, but that battle has allowed for the 41 to catch right back up and reinsert himself into this equation.
And no doubt he's going to try hard to cling to the back of that slipstream there that the 248 is giving off. As you can see them weaving back and forth now. Gregory trying to break what he can. He knows he needs to get some distance.
Yeah, certainly does. He needs some breathing room here at this point, but they're going to be all effectively within that draft range of one another, so that's going to close up. We've got a nice little battle here a little bit farther back down in the field. This is Jason Finch that we ride on board with. Andrew Elsom right up ahead of him, and Michael Adams behind.
Having a lot of pressure there from Michael Adams as that bright yellow machine poking and prodding on either side. They come down the Moraine sweep. I've seen a number of other incidents. I think Jeff Williams involved in one. Looks like Neil Urbesh. We don't need to go to him, but I think it was mostly self-spins towards the back of the field. Under braking into turn 5, Adams wasn't close enough this time, so Finch will at least be able to retain that P7 for now. Back up to Crummell. In the meantime, Nix is actually caught back up a little bit as well. We talked about how he was 2 seconds behind. That's down to a second and a half.
Yeah, he's starting to close in a little bit more. That battle for the lead may not be as simple as we thought it was, but they've got something else to consider here. They've got Craig Smith right up ahead of them, Evan Balbier not too far up ahead of them. This is some lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with, and deal with a lot sooner than I think they thought they were going to have to.
And not in the best of places. Smith is not going to give the position up here, and that's going to check up all three of our front runners, but instead it is Adam Gerling who loses out. Crummell goes by. He's also got good momentum. He could try and take the lead away from Gregory, but decides not to.
Decides not to here at this point. He's going to stay in line at the moment. But I think we're seeing a lot more aggression here out of these drivers, Joe, than we saw in the previous seasons, in the previous races. I think they really and truly want to be battling, want to be up at the front of this field.
Well, Balbier's no longer an issue. There he is in the background now. He went off course at the final turn. But Smith, for those wondering why he's not getting out of the way, those blue flags are informational only. He does not have to leap out of the way. That said, he's probably not making friends here today. There he goes.
There he is. But is he going to get out of the way here for Crummell? No, he's not. He let the leaner on by Gregory. Now he's going to move off to the side there. I think he saw the error of his ways. But even then, Crummell's really having to work to get around him. That cost him a lot of time there, Joe.
He does have a bit of distance over Crummell now, does Gregory. And there's actually, between Gerling and Crummell, a fair bit as well. Smith, again, doesn't have to immediately pull over, although those behind him are giving a little bit of a look. We're watching from Boccieri currently, who's behind the pair. They are going to be able to get by as he moves off to the right-hand side of the track, and Smith lets them through. Boccieri's going to want to make quick work here because he's gained a lot of ground since we last looked.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's only about 9/10 of a second behind Nix here, but again, just that lap traffic, and it's really through no fault of their own coming up through 6 and 7. There's not a good way to get offline through that area, just trying to do the best they can.
Michael Adams, Elsom, and Finch getting checked up a little bit, but Finch can't manage to go by the 54. Adams, since we were last looking at them, has jumped up into 6th position. Remember, he was trying to get by that orange number 356 that we're riding on board with right now. Back into the kink once again, and we are still less than 10 minutes into this race, and we have had a lot happen.
Yeah, we really and truly have. This has been action-packed, but as we ride on board with Bob Moore right now, back down in 12th, trying to close down on Patrick Gill, although I got to think Bob's going to have a little bit more to worry about than what's going on behind him. Jordan Daniels perilously close. He backed off through the kink, but Daniels was knocking on the door.
Just kind of hovering around there, waiting for the right opportunity as they all come back into the braking here for Canada corner. They've caught up to Balbier after his off track, so they're going to have to lap that 099 machine pretty shortly. We'll see if that has an effect on this or not. They do have the front stretch coming up. Oh no, Daniels is no longer in the fight, though. There he is, off course. And Bill Mitchell-Benz, I'm going to take a wild stab that he spun it on his own.
Yeah, I think that may have just been the case there for him, as he's trying to get back under speed right now. We'll maybe have to go back and check out a replay of our own to find out if that's true.
That corner has already eaten up a few cars here today alone, let alone many in years prior. So that sends Daniels back into 19th position, just ahead of Mark Frost, giving chase behind him. We, so far, if I'm seeing correctly, have not lost officially any cars. Everybody has gone in and taken their spare car and gotten back out on track to try and run this race through. Daniels not close enough to anybody right now. Oh, and dips a tire into the green. And whew, had a very narrow moment there with, I believe that was the car of John Gibson having to take evasive action. But side by side up into turn 6 between Gill and Moore. Moore is going to move into 11th with that slice.
And that's a really gutsy move there, Joe. Coming up and over turn 6, you rise up the hill. You're able to use gravity to help you a little bit into the braking zone, but the way it flattens out, the way it's off camber, it's very, very easy to lose the car if you're not perfectly on line. So that takes a lot of gumption to be able to pull off. You shouldn't discount that.
Eli Peacock right now in the front of this little trio that we're watching. That's Nick Whitehill in the green machine. And then we're on board with Ward Preston currently, all separated by just a couple car lengths each between them. Good run out of the carousel here from Ward, but doesn't look quite as brave down through the kink. He loses all that time right back.
Yeah, going to lose it all, and he's going to lose a little bit more here, courtesy of the draft. I don't think at this point that Whitehill is close enough to attack. He's going to poke his nose to the inside a little bit there, maybe just trying to see if he was able to scare Peacock offline. Peacock not disturbed. He is right back in the rhythm.
Amongst them, we should point out that Ward Preston is the hardest charger in this group. In fact, might be of the whole field right now. Up 18 spots, started in 34th. So we're going to check in with Jason Finch once again. And the bright orange 356. Ooh, bad exit for Elsom in front of him, kicking up the dirt. This could give him a chance to attack the 54.
Yeah, it certainly could. Here they go down the long Marine sweep. He's going to be right in the draft, looking this way, looking that way. We've got cars ducking and diving.
Covers off the inside. Doesn't look like Jason's going to be able to do it here. Just in front of them, Craig Smith is now their problem as well. And Michael Adams having trouble trying to make that overtake. This could allow Elsom and Finch to try and once again become a part of the battle for that 6th spot. Let's see how much more they can gain. This is going to be a very tricky part to go by Smith without him facilitating that pass from here basically to the checkered, or to the line.
Yeah, very much so. They're going to have to really fight and claw to be able to get their way on by it. And I'll tell you who's going to love this is Carl Boccieri. The longer that Smith stays behind him and holds up Michael Adams a little bit, the more Boccieri is going to be able to hope to scamper off into the distance and let that green and white machine run free.
To his credit, Craig's honestly not losing time. He's holding on to the back of Carl. So I don't think he's holding up Michael through this part. That's the good news, although Michael almost goes into the back of him, not anticipating the braking. And he's almost pushing him through the corner, has to back up, doesn't want to turn the car up over the blind Bill Mitchell-Bend. Now it's costing him time, and suddenly Boccieri has a lot more car lengths.
Yeah, certainly does, and that's exactly what I was talking about, just those little moments. And look what Carl's doing here at this point. He's fading a little bit down to the middle of the track, trying to break the draft to Craig Smith a little bit as he tries to escape that draft range and get himself a little bit farther ahead.
We have lost our first driver of the race. Thomas LeMay seems to be the only retirement we've seen out of the 43. Crummel's definitely not retired, and he's not given up hope on Gregory. He's still within a second. Certainly can't really try and make an attack from here, but being within a second means that you could maybe jump him in the pit stops if it comes down to that, and if he has trouble getting any closer. Checking back in with Finch, Elsom, and Smith, and Adams, rather, I should say, as they still are stuck behind Smith, and Boccieri is trying to put as much distance as he can in front of them. But Smith is not pulling over, it looks like, until they get a little bit closer to that car.
Well, at this point, he's not necessarily entitled to. I mean, he still has a couple of tenths of a second. It's not like here, like Adams is knocking on the door. There, as soon as I say it, every time here tonight, Joe, every time I say it, they do exactly what I'm saying.
You need to start using that commentator's curse to good effect. Well, there's a problem for Jason Finch. Just spun up the tires, look like, down through turn 8, and he's the one that gets stuck behind. He could have been clear, but he's going to watch Elsom and Adams disappear a little bit up in front as we come back to our leaders once again. This time the battle for third, Nix versus Gerling.
Yeah, this is a good one here, and I've got to give credit to Daniel Nix. Love this rotating view of cameras here to see him in the rig, to see his hands on the wheel, his feet on the pedals. It's really, really great. But this has been a nice, fierce battle, and Nix just slowly but surely applying the pressure from behind, doing a really, really good job.
If you're smelling smoke coming from the steward's room, that's either from the rewind machine having to be overworked or the smoke coming out of their ears. We're understanding that a lot of penalties are about to be handed out, and I'm starting to see a few being put down. Christopher Costas, George Poulos, both given the one. Andy Green also given a black flag. I imagine there's going to be a number of them from that first lap incident.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be plenty of those handed out. Yeah, Green, probably the most obvious there is that self-spin was what sent him around. But let's keep our eyes here. Daniel Nix, pretty good run there off of turn 3. Going to get nice behind in the draft and see what he can do into 5.
Don't need to go to Elsom has fallen off of his group that we were watching earlier. He had a slide through turn 1. Looking for the move down into turn 5 as Daniel Nix tries to go aggressive on the brakes, but he's on the wrong side of the track. He gets a good over-under. Gerling cannot cover him soon enough. He's left the door open. Nix is going to try and snatch that position up. Almost touches doors with him, but he stays out of it. And Daniel Nix will have to settle back into 4th.
Yeah, he's going to have to just re-rack and restack here, but once again, he's not losing time to Gerling. He's keeping that distance close, and that's just going to keep ratcheting up that pressure and keep it all really going here. That's a car off the inside of the carousel. I'm not sure who that was. I think that's Bergeron, actually, but that was a little bit of a strange sight to see.
Yeah, not a typical place that you want to see a car as we come down into the kink now between these two. See if they can successfully make that one, and it looks like they will. And we've gotten a few more penalties. Balbier has been given a black flag, Will Kelly, Jordan Daniels, and that appears to be it for the time being. This has definitely spread them out a lot earlier than you would have expected, and there are some gaps out there to be had, but it might still be a bit too early. We could get some pit stops in at this stage, but I don't anticipate many unless they've got damage. Back up to Crummell. It's not changed. It's still within a second between himself and Gregory.
Yeah, and I think what Crummell's probably trying to do here at this point, Joe, if I were him at any rate, trying to close in just a little bit more and then go into fuel-saving mode. That's what I would be thinking at this point in the race. See if I can get that gap down to maybe about 0.5 of a second and then do some pretty mega lifting and coasting down these longer straightaways. I can tell you, looking from behind, Elsom able to just get by Boyer.
Yeah, Crummell is got it under 0.7 of a second, so this is going well. It looks like maybe he's listening to your advice. Will Kelly heads into pit lane where he had that penalty to serve, so that's probably what's going on there. So we head around turn 5 once again. Crummell now down to 0.5 of a second. Man, what changed here that he just suddenly has closed that so quickly?
I think it may have been a situation where he needed to cool the tires down a little bit. You know, that's something to really keep in mind here. Track temperature only about 76 degrees Fahrenheit, but you're really working these cars so much through some of these faster corners. He may have needed to slow down a little bit more. He may have also just lost his rhythm a little bit, Joe, and he's been able to gain it back here at this point.
Also got a penalty for Jordan Daniels, who will have to go and serve that one. So they're still coming. I believe we've been told that they are still unleashing a number of them. So we'll have some time before we finally have a complete list, I think, just from that first incident, let alone any others that they may have spotted or have been reported to them in this race. Back to Whitehill. We were watching him earlier on. Directly in front of him, it's Eli Peacock in 14th place. But Preston, who we talked about having gained a lot of positions, he's gotten both of them since we last looked. He's up 21 positions into 13th, rather.
Yeah, he's having a good run here. And now as we take a look out of the back of Eli Peacock's car, that number 311 of Nick Whitehill continuing to try to put pressure. Gotta say, that move right there, a little bit ill-informed. You have got to be very, very brave to go too wide through the kink, and you can see there just how much time Whitehill lost trying to make that move. Not the best advice there.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a last lap situation if you're going to try and make an overtake in that corner. But out of turn 3, you can definitely get some overtakes. J.R. Gregory will have to, but they're for lap traffic. This is Chad Casion and Steve Komatz in front of him. Casion kind of staying off to the driver's right here. So this should be a nice easy pass for JR. And yes, he puts a buffer between himself and Crummell, who's fallen back to those 0.9 of a second.
Yeah, and so now Crummell here, it just looks like he's going to catch a little bit of the traffic wrong a little bit as they run. Trying to see what they can get. Crummell has to navigate his way back by 1.1 seconds the gap. The one good bit of news for him, though, is because of the battling with Nix and Gerling behind, the gap's about 4 seconds between Crummell and Nix.
As we come out of the Curry Downs and into the carousel once again here between these two. Nix with the advantage over Gerling. Nix up 1 position. Gerling down from the pole, we have to remember. He was leading this race at the beginning of it, and it was an early pass that unfortunately has put him on the back foot, but maybe he could try and press his way back to the top. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what he's able to do. There's still a lot of time left in this race, and let's not forget pit stops. We anticipate them really starting to fire off between about 9 minutes from now and about 19 minutes from now, so plenty of time for that. But close quarters battle there with some of those slower cars. We ride on board with Theodosius Neokli.
Down in that 31st position, bringing along a whole train. Will Munguia still in a fight with him, along with Gregory trying to lap them at the same time. Looks like he's going to be able to get that done. But Crummell still finds himself flummoxed by this lap traffic, unable to make the passes in the same corner as our leader. That little checkup going to help him out as Will's going to make sure that he can get by. But now he's got to protect from Casion because he is battling for position with that orange and white machine.
Yeah, he certainly is. And look at all of this up in front of them as they've got to kind of dip and dodge their way through this. This is Casion right now that we ride on board with, Munguia right ahead of him. And as you said, Joe, this is going to make things a lot more complicated for these leaders as they try to come on through. Right now, Casion trying to look around the outside of turn 5, looking for a little bit of a crossover. Well defended there by Munguia.
In front of him, Crummell spinning up the tires out of turn 4, so he loses yet more time to Gregory. And the battle resumes here in the mid-pack, at least temporarily, because unfortunately Daniel Nix is now on behind them, and he is in a battle for position, so he can't wait up. And with these drivers also battling for position, it's a question of who's willing to give up the time.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to try to find that difference there between being a good sportsman and fighting for your own position, Joe. It's very, very difficult to try to navigate here, not only for the leaders, but for these lap cars as well. It's the constant thinking match that you're doing as a driver.
Look at Casion. He's got a very good run, but we're going to jump back actually to Gerling, who's just behind them. You can see the side-by-side battle. Casion around the outside just gets fed out, unfortunately, and Will hold on to that 32nd position.
Yeah, he'll hold on to it for now. The 379 just working his way on through. Good pass there. Whoa, big pass coming up to the inside there. That's the 33. That's Daniel Nix. Tired of waiting around, but he ran a little bit wide there at corner exit.
Not only is the lapped car going to be able to go right back by him, but now Adam Gerling has massive momentum in comparison. He's looking to the inside and try to pull the slipstream off of Komatz, but it doesn't seem to work out. And no, he's not going to be able to overtake on Nix.
No, he's going to have to stay in line here. And the one bad thing for Gerling is that with Komatz right in front of him, that's going to give Nix the advantage of the draft coming down the Moraine sweep. So he'll probably find himself a little bit scuppered here, though it almost looks like he got too good of a run there for Nix and had to pull out early coming around the 210.
Now this time he's going to be able to go by, and he wasn't held up as much. Question is he going to allow Gerling to overtake him? No, he's going to slot back into line. Gerling backs off as they fly through turn 5. It slows up that 248 once again. And just behind them, that is Boccieri and Adams. That is for position.
Yes, it most certainly is. As they continue to fight out here at this point, we watch the 248 of Gerling working his way around. Now we're going to jump back with Adams right now. That's only Boccieri right in front of him, and they are now having to deal with some of that lap traffic that we saw the leaders deal with not too long ago.
It's definitely been a lot earlier than we anticipated this being as serious of an issue as it is. In a track as long as this, we usually don't see it crop up that much. And there you can see what I mean on the circuit now. There's some definite clumps out there. And when they keep coming onto those clumps that are at the back of the field, that's when we're getting these sort of traffic jams, trying to overtake cars that are not for position, while also protecting your own and making sure you don't get caught out. We're getting close to the halfway point as well. So if anybody does find themselves caught up, maybe it's worth it, DJ, to try and do the undercut.
Yeah, if you're going to have some lap traffic that's really going to slow you down, that may be the only reason to dive on in for the undercut. We haven't seen it be effective really at any point of the course of these races. Does look like we've got one taker down pit lane. I think that's going to be Komatz coming in right now, taking his pit stop a little bit early.
It is, yes. So I think he's just trying to get out of the way and maybe try and lose less time himself, having to let those cars by, because this will hopefully put him into a better gap than where he was sitting before. And they come around turn 1 with Boccieri not quite close enough to Gerling and still far enough away from Adams. We're going to check in on Jordan Daniels. Started in 26th position, had that penalty early in the race. In fact, I think he was given 2 penalties early in the race, and hence why we see him so far down the order.
Yeah, he's really got a lot to try to make up for here at this point. And again, as you said, with the penalty, that doesn't count as mandatory pit stop, as it's not something that is dictated here by the series that you have to come down into pit lane. Instead, it is directly tied to your fuel limit. But right now, we watch Boccieri and Adams, this battle continuing to rage. Boccieri still kind of closing in on Gerling up ahead of him, but I dare say he's going to be looking in his rearview mirror more than he is out in front.
Absolutely. Remember how we mentioned earlier on that the fewest incident points and license penalty points will get an award from Six Sigma Sim Racing. Well, right now the top 4 all have 0x up into this stage of the race. They are not only lightning fast up at the front, but they are looking massively clean. And I believe that's one of them right there that we're looking at, Adam Gerling, who we've jumped on board with. Neocli ahead of him is not for position. That's 31st right now. So we'll try and dispose of him rather quickly.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's going to be all that quick of a move here. Neocli going to hold off for the moment. That's going to give Daniel Nix just a little bit of a chance to scamper ahead here at this point. But now it's going to be pretty nice to be able to get a nice little draft here off of some of these lapped cars. We are hearing some more news, Joe, though. George Polis has retired as now the 248 comes down into pit lane.
Yep, that's our lapped car again getting out of the way. So yeah, so joining LeMay, Poulos is out. Urbesh looks like he is out of this race on top of things, but that's it. Only 3 retirements, despite the incidents we saw. There's a little peak there coming from Adams. Just wasn't able to make a serious maneuver down to the inside for this one. And still, they are stuck behind Neocli, who is well within his rights to try and run his own pace, but now that he made a hiccup out of turn 3, he's pretty much got to let them by.
Yeah, pretty much has to let him by here at this point. He's not really going to be able to put up any sort of logical defense as they go. There's the 248.
Pit.
Yeah, that's Gerling. That was Gerling that we saw come down into pit lane.
Oh, so I was wrong. Excuse me, I was looking at the wrong car there. Interesting stuff. And he is one of the first front runners to pit in. I see Yokel having taken a stop, but I think that may have been for damage. Looks like Nick Whitehill has taken a scheduled stop. David Palmer has, but nobody as high up as Adam Gerling. He does emerge into a pretty good amount of clear air in 13th, so I think Gerling might be making a good call.
I think he is as well, Joe. I think that's one of the variables here in this race. We're now going to take a look, though, on board with Rob Neville, trying to close down on the aforementioned Adam Gerling. Gerling doesn't want to lose this position. He is going to be very, very defensive here, even though his tires are going to be a little bit cooler. He's going to come down into the braking zone here, just hold on that inside line, probably try to prevent a little bit of an over-under from Neville. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to be able to hold on to it here at this point.
Yep, but he has to do it for 30 more minutes on top of this, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some more action in store for him before this is over. I saw that there was a penalty for Balbier, one of our lapped cars. It was not involved with the opening incident. The timestamp is marked somewhere else, and I'm not sure what the incident was, so we'll try and do some research, see what elicited that. As we watch from Michael Adams, he's been stuck behind Carl Boccieri for a number of laps now, with no chance of trying to overtake, maybe until now, as that was way too wide. Has to catch the car as it nearly spins off of turn 1, defends the inside down into turn 3. Adams could pull the over-under. He's got a decent exit. This will carry on, DJ.
Yeah, it's going to carry on here, and I think Boccieri's maybe just a little bit of a sitting duck. He doesn't have a lapped car to be able to do anything. Look at him there, egging that car forward as much as he can. He's going to be defensive, holding down to the inside line, down into turn 5. Later on the binders is Boccieri. Maybe a little bit of a love tap there from Adams, but well defended for Carl.
Whew. Yeah, that was nervy. Carl doing as our peer Soup Zahn used to say, scooting forward in the seat, trying to see if he could just be a little bit farther ahead. But it worked, and Adams was unable to overtake, not for lack of trying. The two did make the tiniest of contact through that corner and got away with it. But Chad Casion directly in front of him. Will he play a factor or not here? And when will they catch this car officially? Because they've still got about half a second to be right up on that rear bumper.
Well, I think here the draft coming down through the kink and down through Kettle Bottoms is certainly going to help him out. That gap is coming down to about 4.5 tenths of a second here at this point. Boccieri just doing exactly what he needs to do. The only problem here is he's going to catch him in the braking zone for Bill Mitchell-Bend and get really slowed up behind him. Yeah, look at that. Boccieri already losing a little bit of time there, and Adams knows it. Adams is on the hunt.
Still following so close, knowing that he's had a few good whiffs recently, just hasn't been able to make it happen. And Casion's trying to, I think, weave to get out of the way, but unfortunately for him, Boccieri wants that slipstream and is following directly behind, trying to get as much of a run as he can. It is helping him quite a lot here as they approach turn 1. Casion is thankfully going to give a nice little lift and allow Boccieri through. Again, Carl in 4th position currently, but that's because we had Gerling take a pit a couple laps ago. We haven't seen anybody else in that front group pit in. Oh, Bob Moore just had a problem, though. There he is on screen in the 772, once again coming over the crest of Bill Mitchell-Bend.
Yeah, just cresting over. We're going to take a little bit of a look here at 772 coming up at clean out of Canada corner there. Bob Moore tries to be able to do what he can. Just too much speed and a little bit of understeer there.
Ooh, big hit into the concrete, unfortunately. It's one of those spots I wonder why they don't have some tires there to help soften the blow for the cars. Naturally, he's coming to pit lane to take repairs. That is John Gibson with him, which is actually for position. But I think Gibson is actually a strategy call and not due to any sort of damage. At least I'm not seeing a meatball flag next to him. As we check back in with Gregory, it's a gap of 6 seconds now to Crummell. Once he broke that slipstream, he dropped Crummell like a bad habit.
Yeah, really and truly did. Just able to break out there, and I think that was a combination of being able to use some of those drafted cars to very, very good effect. Taking a look on board here with Will Kelly, who's currently gearing up for NASA's Artemis missions, about ready to take off.
Certainly seems like it. But he sits in 36, another one of those drivers that suffered from a penalty or two. Might have had two of them. I'll have to double check to see with all that they've handed out. No, it was only one for him that he was served, and he is down in 36th position. Checking up with Antonio De Silva, though, here in 14th. This is in between Mark Frost and Adam Holland, all three for track position. And Robert Neville actually make that 4 just in front of them, is not far behind. Oh, here we go. We got another taker from up front. Michael Adams is now in pit lane.
All right, so we've got another leader coming down into the pits here at this point. So good runs there for them. And let's see if that undercut strategy is going to play itself out.
So, yeah, it's hard to say with Gerling because we haven't really been watching him. He's had one flying lap at a 2:05.6 before, and he's just about to finish the second one. This is Gregory on your screen, your current race leader, who started from that front row and has taken the top spot. Gerling was next to him there in P1. And let's see what Gerling's lap is going to be. 2:05.4 that time by. So not bad, but the bad news is that's about a second slower than J.R. Gregory's last 2 laps. So he's not going to be catching Gregory, but he was battling with Nix, and it does look like he was faster than Nix on at least one of the laps.
All right, so that may present a little bit of an interesting situation here with him getting a little bit more speed. I don't know, we'll have to see. This is all really fascinating, Joe. We're officially in that pit stop window here at this point. The 218 continues to lead. I wouldn't expect him down in pit lane for another, let's call it 5 minutes or so, but still, with these other drivers just continuing to pop down into pit lane, it really opens up the opportunities.
JR doesn't have any traffic directly in front of him. Andrew Hillman would be the next one he'd need to go by, but it's probably going to be within the next 3, or it'll probably be past the next 3 laps, as you mentioned, that he'll have to wait before the pit stop. So Hillman not really a concern. He'll probably be pitting around a similar time, and he could maybe overtake him in the pit stops as we check in with that pair fighting for what is 24th position. Hillman behind Matthew Scott currently. Here we go again. Boccieri, Finch, both taking their scheduled stops. We should see at least Adams and Gerling go by, and Adams jumped Gerling. He was behind him, wasn't he?
I think he was, Joe. So Adams able to make a good move here through that cycle.
Okay, not what I was expecting. Gerling seemed to be running pretty decent pace, but man, Adams 2 seconds quicker, no, about a second quicker, I think, in his pit stall in comparison. So that helped somewhat, but he was not quite that close from what I can remember during the pit stops. Boccieri is exiting now, and it's going to be very close between Adams and Boccieri, who are fighting for position, but there he goes. Just manages to sneak ahead before turn 1 under braking.
Just manages to make it work. My goodness gracious, a close run here.
So Boccieri got snookered a bit in the strategy. He falls to what is 6th right now. I think that might be the actual position they'll be in once we see this all said and done. But Gerling's already trying to make up for lost time for what seems to be a failed early stop strategy. A defensive move down into turn 5 will allow Boccieri to hold on to Gerling, or hold on to the 6th place ahead of Gerling, I should say. And we're coming down to the end of this fuel window pretty soon. Maybe 2 more laps, depending on how much drivers have been saving. J.R. Gregory's not been saving enough because he's in pit lane.
Yeah, same with Curtis Crummell behind him. We'll have to see if Nix is going to follow. Now the question's going to be with Gill, if he will come in as well, as that'll be the last of the leaders here to really make their final, or their only pit stop.
Other than that, we're waiting on Neville, Frost, Eskridge needs to take a stop, Randy Teague, and Sengupta, who looks like he has served a penalty at one point during this race. That, or he started from pit lane, because I'm showing time for him that he has been in the pits but not in his stall, which is usually a sign that he's had to drive through in some form or fashion. So there we go. There's your answer on Patrick Gill. He's pitting in. Gregory just finishing up his service. 21 and a half seconds. That's a bit slow. And Crummell behind him still needs a lot to be done. It does look like, though, Gregory, despite a slightly longer stop than some of his rivals, he had built up such a buffer, it was not a problem at all.
No, it's not. And I'm taking a look here to see where Michael Adams is going to come out. And same with Adam Gerling. Gerling will find himself here in 6th place, closing in behind Boccieri as they work their way around. And now we've got, oh, that was Adams. That was Michael Adams off.
Oh, out of the pits, and unfortunately on his first flying lap is going to spin it to the inside of turn 1. He'll lose touch with Gerling because of that. But Gerling honestly lost touch with a lot of the drivers he was fighting as well before this. We have to remember he has just come out the absolute worst in this pit cycle. This is what Adams saw, and it seems the rear of the car just did not want to give the grip.
No, just didn't want to do anything there at all, and now he's going to find himself pointed the wrong way around. We take a look a little bit farther back. That was Patrick Gill coming out of pit lane right there. There he is on your circuit. And there, Joe, he was almost imperceptible, but he was doing just a little bit of weaving. Now, these drivers are probably not taking tires during the course of their pit stop, but they need to get them back up to temperature when everything's done. And that little bit of weaving there, that's exactly what that was.
That's a good point. With the way the tire model works now, you definitely got to do stuff to try and make sure that it gets in the right temps to get the right speed out of it. Mark Frost, the only one I think that is going to be able to make 19 laps on this fuel tank, as he has still got to come in and make his stop. And currently, I'm seeing him up 29 positions, so he'll probably be handing a few of those back. The question is how many?
Yeah, we're going to have to see here exactly what it's going to shake itself out to be. But now as we watch, that's the 24 there coming down, and that is going to be the 356 of Jason Finch making a very good move on Mark Frost.
Finch into 7th with that one, but of course he wasn't really battling with Frost, who still has to make that pit stop. They were off strategy to one another. Frost losing time very quickly. Did he push it too far? And is he going to have to sputter this up the hill and into his spot?
He's sputtering. Look at that gauge. He's going to coast it on up. But remember, this is uphill, Joe. This is going to be a long run to his pit stall.
Yes, it will. So he's going to lose yet more time. It was a gamble that's not going to work out in the end. But this will allow Ward Preston, now that he is going to go by that last car that needs to stop, to tally up how many positions he's gained in this race. 24 for the number 24 appropriately. It's not completely over, but this is just a massively impressive race from the 007.
Yeah, it really and truly is. And unless we see an issue with some drivers in front, I think this is probably going to be as far as we see Ward Preston rise up through the field. He's got about a 7.5-second gap up to Patrick Gill for 9th. But we've seen enough calamity here early on, Joe. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something else firing off later, and maybe he'll get a few more positions.
You know, Mark Frost didn't turn out too bad. He's going to settle in 16th place after his pit stop, which is still a gain of 20 positions himself. He has followed Holland, who's now directly in front of him, up the order. The pair of them clearly staying out of trouble on this one. And I just saw Will Munguia head into the pit lane. Now I'm checking to see that's not a black flag. So this looks to be a scheduled stop. Not sure. I thought we saw him pit in earlier, so maybe he just went a little bit long this time. As we ride on board with Nick Whitehill now in 13th. That's Bob Moore in front of us. We know that he had a bit of an issue earlier on, smacking the concrete out of some of the final corners.
Yeah, just a little bit of that issue here, but he's going to be able to come around right now, keeping some good pressure behind Bob Moore. Whitehill trying to just push that car as much as possible, fill the rear view mirrors here of Moore, and try to take away that 12th place position.
See if he can elicit a mistake out of the red, white, and blue machine in the final quarter of this race. Good exit there from the car of Whitehill off of the carousel, but he's going to have to get closer than that out of the kink. Does look like he's about even as they fly down at 150 miles an hour here towards Canada Corner.
Yeah, there's a lot of speed that they're carrying here at this point, but it's not going to be enough speed there for Nick Whitehill. He'll have to stay in line for a little bit longer. And Joe, you and I have both been in these positions. It's so frustrating. You can reach out and almost touch that driver in front of you, but they're just able to get the run around the corners at exactly the right point, just enough to be able to hold you at bay.
Yeah, and there's not much that you can do other than, well, outdrive your competitor because they're all on the same setup out here. As Peter Yurt's back in 22nd, sees Randy Teague's back bumper filling up his windscreen. See if he can maybe try and overtake for this one. Every point is valuable out here. And coming off of the final corner, ooh, this is awful close. He's close enough that this could pull him in to where he could make an attack down into turn one.
Yeah, it very well could be. Let's see if he's able to keep that behind here at this point. Yersa trying to see if he's able to do it. Going to fade a little bit to the inside. Now he's going to keep in line again. Now here comes a little bit more of a fade. He's going to keep it in line. He's got to run a good line here through 1 and 3, Joe. If he does that, he'll have a great chance down the backstretch.
Just kicked up a little bit of dirt out of turn 1. What about through 3? Takes a different line in comparison to Teague. It's awful close between them, but I don't know if this is going to do it. That's Green and Elsom behind them that you're getting flashes of on the screen. And he's starting to reel him in. This actually could be a good shot. Peter shows his nose. I don't think he was going to try and actually make that move down into 5. I think he knew he was too far behind still. So we've lost a few of those 0X drivers towards the front. Only the leader, J.R. Gregory, and then down in 10th, Ward Preston, interestingly enough. The hard charger has a 0X right now, which makes sense when you think about it, considering he's managed to avoid the woes of everybody else. Of course, it's going to get him a few spots along the way. Back to Whitehill for this battle, though.
Yeah, and that's now, I believe, Rob Neville that he's having to contend with. I'm not sure there what has happened, but Neville now the one within Whitehill's line of sight.
So it was a mistake this lap by Whitehill into turn 5. He was trying to make a pass on Bob Moore, and it went awry. He was slow off the corner. Neville was there to pick up the pieces and basically charged his way on the inside turn 6. So great move by the 087, but they've lost track with Moore because of it.
Okay, and that goes to show you sometimes you fight a little bit, and that is exactly what can happen. We're going to get a little love farther back down in the field. This is a nice little battle that we've started to play out for what is 16th as Mark Frost leans Ken Eskridge and Kevin Yokel, 1, 2, 3.
I love the battles that we're getting to see in the mid-pack because we gave plenty of love to the front of the fields, but we now want to see everybody else. Mark Frost, though, seems to have botched turn 3. Eskridge now pokes his nose coming down the Moraine sweep, heading towards turn 5. That looks like a lift. I think Frost didn't want to fight that one, trying to simply get to the finish here. He's gained 19 positions. I kind of don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't either, Joe. There comes a point with the driver that you just kind of recognize that somebody behind you is faster. You're this far into the race. You've only got about 13 minutes left to go. Better to see the race than to put up a fight here and find yourself put out.
Yeah, 16th place versus 17th place won't make that huge of a difference to him, I'm sure, if he's this high up compared to what his qualifying elicited. Behind him, that's Yokel in that 21 red, white, and black machine, getting ever closer. So will he have to give up another, or is he going to at least try and fight that one as we approach the final 10 minutes pretty soon? They all fly through the kink once again, trying to keep it off of that grass, which has sadly caused us a very big wreck already. And well back down in 32nd, Craig Smith here, who has been lapped already by a fair bit of the field, is trying to see if he can go by Jordan Daniels.
Yeah, going to see if he's going to be able to get his way on by here at this point. Just continuing to work his way through the field right now. Little bit of a poke. I think that may be the move here, Joe.
He's going to show himself. He's going to try and see if he can get the spot. does get the inside off of Daniels. Oh, Daniels makes a little contact with Costas in the meantime, but everybody gets away with it. This is all four position. David Palmer's the next one up. He's in 30th, so this is quite a battle. If the leaders do come back around to try and lap them, that's going to be more frustration for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of frustration for them, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, just look at this battle. So very close here at this point. And thankfully, I don't think we're going to have to worry about too many leaders coming up behind them. It'll be some class of the faster field, but not the absolute faster guys that find themselves in a crazy battle.
Well, that's good at least. You never want to play a part in the battle for the lead here, especially late in the race. Heading off to Nix. He's still up on the back of Crummell, who's dropped behind Gregory by about 8 seconds. But between them, that's a lapped car. So that's Will Kelly, who, as we said, was given a penalty early on. So he qualified in 8th and probably has pretty decent pace in comparison, not when he makes mistakes like that. And thankfully, he's going to allow Nix to go by.
He's going to allow Nix to go by here. And crucially, Joe, I've been looking at the lap times for the last 2 laps here. And on average, Nix has been able to close in about 0.7 of a second on the last couple of laps. So he has got some speed here, and he wants to use it. But I think you've just seen something with Whitehill.
Yeah, he's lost out in that battle and gave up a number of positions. He spun it down in turn 8. He gets it back out on track. Nothing too super eventful, unfortunately. He just kind of lost control of the car, and everybody streamed on by as we continue to watch the battle for second position. The car of Boccieri is nowhere to be seen now because he's about 6 seconds behind them. That is the lapped car that we were talking about just moments ago that is currently behind this pair. So who is going to decide the last 2 steps of the podium? Where are they going to wind up amongst this pair, or will it be either of this pair? There's no guarantee that it will be them. They could make a mistake. We're going to check in with De Silva back in 34th, though.
Yeah, this is De Silva here back in 18th. Whoa, big move there up to the inside of Mark Frost, and he's going to make that stick. That color, be surprised. I didn't think that was going to play out.
Yeah, decisive move. Yeah, apologies. That's the number 34 car. As you said, P18 now 17th with that overtake down through the corner. Checking back in with Nix once more. Still trying to see if he can get a mistake out of Crummell as we watch him steer it through the final turn. He is currently within about 0.6 of a second. That's definitely able to be made up in these final 8 minutes. While it may only be, I think, about 5 laps to complete here, it's plenty of time to try and chop away, use the slipstream, and have a go and see if he can get that second place.
Yeah, he's going to try to see if he's going to be able to claim it away here, but he's only got about 8.5 minutes left to do it. Now, thankfully, as I take a look here, they don't have all that much lap traffic to get in the way. Steve Komatz is about 3.3 seconds up the road. That's Komatz that you saw just flash through your screen. So I think this is going to be a pretty mano-a-mano battle.
Yeah, it's what we want to see just between this pair. Yeah, Komatz up the ways. Should have enough pace that... I mean, they might catch him by the last lap. If that's the case, he's not battling with anybody currently, and the car behind them is not going to be for position with him either. So, yeah, let's cross our fingers that it just is a straightforward fight. Speaking of a straightforward fight, Finch versus Adams. We've seen this one before, in fact, at the beginning of the race, and they bookended it, but it doesn't look like Adams is going to give it up. Finch has to try again later.
Yeah, he's going to have to try again later here. Running out of time just a little bit, but Finch just needs to be patient here. That's what all these drivers need to do. Patience will come to you.
Got to think about the big picture as well for the championship, the points that they're trying to earn, and maybe as well $250 from Six Sigma Sim Racing to try and have as few incidents as possible. This is not the best start for the sport class drivers, though, and trying to earn that award, at least for a good number of them on the first lap of the race. I think Robert Neville just had a bit of an off out of turn 3, lost 2 positions because that small checkup that he had. So That was no good for him. In fact, that was just Yokel now on screen that was able to overtake because of that slow run from Robert down the Moraine sweep. So matters just seem to keep getting worse for that driver down in the mid-pack. What about up at the front as Nick sees what he can do to take away P2? It's down to 0.3 of a second now. He has cut that in half in about a lap and a half.
Yeah, he certainly has, Joe, and crucially, he was able to set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap. He took a look there coming out of the corner and actually had to back out of it. That'll be interesting. Yeah, he got him.
Wow. So somehow that switched around quite quickly. It looks like Crummell just went a little bit too far down into turn 3. Let's take a look at it. This is out of 1. Watch Nix. We were saying maybe he could try and pressure him into a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. Didn't touch the grass. Car gets a little loose. It snaps. He did a good job catching that, thankfully.
Yeah, he certainly did. And Joe, I was just taken by the wayside on that because I turned around and I looked away for half a second and then looked up and they had swapped around and my brain was trying to compute that. I just didn't expect it.
I'll be honest, I feel like that sometimes vies for the actual commentator's curse. Whenever you're not looking at the right screen, and you always have a major event happen, and Daniel Nix going to move into P2, but he's messed around so much with those behind. I mean, he's not going to catch Jared Gregory, at least at this stage. Not unless we get something major happening to our leader from here. Andrew Elsom, though, back in P23. Randy Teague. We were watching these two a little bit earlier. Ooh, harsh defense. Teague's not giving him any room. I don't think he squeezed him off, but Elsom apparently ran out of track to the inside.
Yeah, he got up onto the grass there, and that was just enough to be able to send him around. Very reminiscent of an incident, Joe, that you and I saw in person at this exact track last year.
Yeah, so didn't anticipate that that pit exit eventually goes away, and he ran out of pavement and off into the wall where he found more concrete, just not the kind that you want. As we now watch the leaders come around through 3, and Crummell, who was being chased down by Nix, unfortunately is watching the results now that he's lost that valuable track position. It's already over a second between them. Komats, who he's actually caught now, hopefully won't be an issue there. But up at the front, this is J.R. Gregory. That's the car of Matthew Scott in front of him that we see. And next time by, trying to figure out if it's going to be 2 or 3 laps to go. Or rather, 1 or 2 laps to go, I should say.
Well, let's see here. That math is going to be beyond me. I was going to try to do it there, Joe, and I just, no.
Yeah, they're part way around the lap, so it's going to be difficult to tell. As it's a little over 2 minutes a lap for most of the drivers. Fast ones running 2:04s and 2:05s. So we're looking at 4:10, and we weren't there to see if he crossed at that 4:10 mark, unfortunately. But as he approaches Canada Corner, I'm going to say 2 laps to go based on what we can see here. And again, he does not really need to make a quick move here to overtake Scott. That's probably why I've seen him waiting so patiently right now.
Yeah, he's got 9 seconds back to Daniel Nix as he can just kind of wait around here. He doesn't even need to make the pass, frankly, before this race is over. He can probably just park behind him. My guess is he'll probably have a run out of him going down through the Moraine sweep, just be able to get a good run through 1 and 3 and be able to make that pass there.
Can we give some credit to the rest of the field, though? Because other than that opening accident where we had a slew of black flags handed out, there's been 1 or 2 since then that I've seen given by the stewards. The rest of the race has been just unbelievably clean.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, outside of that big incident, we haven't seen anything fire off, and that's a credit here to these drivers. And I think we can kind of attribute that opening lap incident to just cold tires coming through the kink, not fully warmed up. As we watch here, Gregory thinking about doing exactly what I was saying. Is he going to poke his nose to the inside? Yes, he is. There he goes, right down into turn 5.
No, he doesn't. He backs out of it.
Every time.
Yeah, and he's actually getting on the horn saying blue flag, so he's got his best Sebastian Vettel impression going on as he is trying to alert Scott that he definitely wants by at this stage. He is losing a little bit of time to Daniel Nix now, having to sit and wait patiently. That's also Andrew Elsom, which is a battle for position. So don't know if Scott's going to be willing to give this one up. At this stage, maybe Gregory's just going to have to sit and stay patient. He's going to get the white flag next time by. So unless these cars are 8 seconds slower than Nick's, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay as well. And trust me, an experienced driver like Gregory, he's going to know that. He's going to know that that's a battle for position up ahead of him. And he's going to recognize that he doesn't need to get involved with it. But there we see a lunge down to the inside. That may sway Gregory's hand a little bit early.
So that gives Scott 23rd. And yeah, Elsom's a little bit more compliant. He immediately lets him through. And Randy Teague was black flagged for blocking. Interesting. I think that was that would be in the battle for position because he hasn't been lapped. So not sure if we saw that on screen or not, but we will see the white flag being waved for J.R. Gregory in the final lap of the sport class.
And there we go. He's going to cross over the line there. He's got a 6-second gap now to Daniel Nix. But, Joe, we've got a pretty good battle here coming down the main straightaway between Boccieri and Gerling.
This is going to be for fourth position, side by side, heading into the braking of turn one. Last lap pass. Will this allow Gerling to at least get a top four here? No, not quite. Boccieri back up the inside and is going to reclaim the position.
All right, so he's going to hold on to it here at this point, but he still has to be able to make the defense here going down the Moraine sweep, and that's a lot easier said than done, as here they go. And Gerling certainly looking for the draft here, under 0.3 of a second as they fly their way under the Sargento Bridge.
He's going to pull him in once again, but I don't think this is going to elicit an opportunity. Gerling's going to have to be extremely aggressive, and yeah, he's not trying it here. Just looks to try and take as wide a line as he can as Boccieri covers him off to play it safe, just going somewhat defensive to try and dissuade that car from going by him.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he needs to do here. He doesn't need to run a super defensive line, but he does need to be aware of a dive bomb here and there and just try to cover that off wherever possible.
You have to weigh your options. Is it worth fighting as hard as it is for the spot? Wants to make it to the checkered flag, but he also wants these great points paying positions up towards the top of the field. Speaking of great points paying out, looks like J.R. Gregory, despite not getting the pole, starting from the front row was enough of an advantage for him to quickly jump up to the lead and not fret too much once he got there, because Scott is not going to allow him to lap him. He's going to stay on that lead lap, and J.R. Gregory is going to take the win here for race number one in the sport class here at Road America.
He had to get his elbows out early, Joe, and really fight for that position. But once he got into control of this race, he absolutely was able to pull away. And a great result here as well for Daniel Nix. Very much the same story.
Nix pumping his fist in celebration. He's happy about that. Crummell still gets a podium exactly where he started. And it's close between Boccieri. He just keeps Gerling behind. It was 0.06 of a second that he finishes fourth. Gerling at least gets a top five.
Yeah, he'll get that. We check back a little farther in the field. Kevin Yokel right now trying to work his way around in P16. He's trying to close in on Antonio De Silva up ahead of him, only 0.7 of a second down the road.
Yeah, not many close battles from basically from that fourth place fight all the way down here to Kevin. It's all separated by a second or more from various cars in front of them. Out through the kink for the last time. They both managed to keep out of trouble there.
Yeah, they're going to keep it together here. I think De Silva's got this one covered off, but this is a good battle behind. This is Mark Frost and Nick Whitehill.
Nick Whitehill down to the inside. They both go deep. They bang doors, and that's going to shove Frost off the course. Whitehill not redressing the position. And Frost says no worries, so I think he doesn't sound concerned about it. Meanwhile, Robert Neville might actually get a spot off of Frost because of that little bit of contact. And is Nick telling him to pass? He's slowing him up. He might lose 2 positions here. This is not good for Nick. Oh, no. He should have maybe slowed up a little bit sooner. There goes Neville. It's 2 positions instead of 1, but great sportsmanship from Nick on that.
Yeah, most certainly. That's the kind of stuff you do love to see here if you are a racing fan, that kind of sportsmanship, although a very tough break to lose those 2 positions when only meeting to seed 1.
Yeah, I think maybe he should have slowed up just a little earlier in that situation. Well, what a race we had. I believe we are heading off to a short break here as we will come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. Break a little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Road America. The first race for the sport class here in PCA sees J.R. Gregory take a dominant win. Daniel Nix fought his way forward and eventually climbed to second ahead of Curtis Crummell, who took the final step on the podium, and Carl Boccieri, who finished fourth, narrowly beating the man who started on pole and didn't seem to be able to keep it up in the race. It was only fifth for Adam Gerling as Michael Adams was sixth. Then Jason Finch finished P7 and David Boyer was eighth. Patrick Gill P9 today, and Ward Preston in the end had those 24 positions to climb to 10th.
In 11th place, it was Eli Peacock, followed by Bob Moore, Adam Holland, Ken Eskridge, and Antonio De Silva round out your top 15. De Silva barely holding off Kevin Yokel at the line. Mark Frost fell down through the order there. Came up through the order, up 19 positions on the day. Sorry about that, Mark. And then Robert Neville, Nick Whitehill, who seemed to be in the action all day long, and Peter Yerxa round out your top 20.
From there, you can see the rest of our 43 drivers, not all of them finishing, about 4 or 5 DNFs in the end, but that's actually a pretty good number, I'd say, with both the size of the field and the size of our opening incident. I believe we're going to be talking to third place Curtis Crummell here first up, who unfortunately could not keep Nick's back. Curtis, it looked like for a while you were trying your hardest to prevent Daniel from managing to claim that P2, but it looked like just a tiny error that is all it took.
Oh, he was fast. He was faster than me. We had the rest of the field by, over about a quarter of a second. So now he had the speed. I was trying to run my race, hit my spots, and let things happen. But he caught me on a bobble. I drove a third place race. It was as it should have been. He did great.
Now, how aware, or are you even aware of what happened on the opening lap behind you? Because there was quite some drama unfolding on the first lap there.
No, not at all. I was watching these other guys run and trying to keep up.
There was an incident involving probably, I'd say, about a dozen cars out of the kink, unfortunately. You'll have to go back and watch that. But other than that, this is a pretty good opening salvo, a top three for today's race. How are you in the GT4, though, when we head to VIR?
Well, we've had a great cross section of cars in the past few race series we've run. So I feel pretty good about that. The club car might be a little bit older, but no, it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of practice to come in the next 2 weeks.
Well, congratulations again. Excellent run here to take the 41 car onto the podium.
Thanks for Porsche Exchange, JR, Daniel. Y'all did great. Thank you.
It's Curtis Crummell, P3 today, and DJ has caught up with Daniel Nix, who made an excellent run up to that second spot.
I did indeed. Daniel, I want to talk to you about the beginning of the race. It looked like your strategy from the outset was just go, go, go.
The beginning of the race was unfortunate. We got a bad start, causing us to go 3 wide T1, which isn't fun. As much as I wanted to fight and be up at the front of the race, I went ahead and went with a risk reward, and we stayed safe there.
Well, you certainly did make it play there. And how nervous were you on pit stops? I mean, we've seen strategy absolutely catch people out this week. Did you have any concerns?
The pit was, man, we gained a lot of time in the pit thanks to Jesse, one of my coaches and my crew chief. He had everything set up for me. He was monitoring everything. He got us down to just exactly the amount of fuel we needed. I felt extremely confident with that. So that was one of our strengths.
Well, as we turn our sights ahead here at this point, we head out to the GT4s at some new circuits. How well do you know that GT4 car, and how well do you think you can do?
You know, GT4 is a lot of fun. It's like a toy, and we're ready to pack up and start training for that next track here. And we have just an awesome team and a lot of support. Everyone at PCA and our coaches, Jesse Lyon and Robert, all these awesome people here to help us. So I feel really confident this season. I plan on taking P1.
I love the confidence there, Daniel. But as for today, who'd you like to thank?
Of course, my wife. She lets me do all this. Not only lets me, but really supports me. I'd like to thank Q40 Motorsports, my racing team, Jesse, and also our sponsors at Porsche Exchange, and of course, you guys at Race Control and the broadcasts are fantastic. So everyone outstanding.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much. Congratulations on a second place, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, my friend.
Yeah, see ya.
All right, Joe, that was Daniel Nix, your second place finisher here tonight.
Yeah, definitely impressive the way that 33 was able to pass a few cars and stay out of trouble to get up into that second spot. Sadly, it looks like we won't be able to talk to our winner this evening, J.R. Gregory, but maybe we'll get to chat with him on another date. Definitely join us later, though, as we will be back again tomorrow night, March 23rd at 9:25 p.m. Eastern for the Challenge class. That'll be the last that we see here at Road America for this series. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10 in the meantime, the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. Big thanks goes out to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Brian, and Cameron. Oh, it looks like we are going to be able to talk to JR. Last second, he's been able to find his way up into the booth, and let's talk to our winner, because JR, once you were able to stretch away from the drivers chasing you, such as Curtis Crummell, it looked like you had pretty good control of the situation.
Yeah, it unfolded pretty well. There was a lot of luck involved, obviously. I think Curtis and Daniel behind both had good pace. Daniel, in fact, nipped the fastest lap towards the end there, and that's how these races sometimes go. It's just a matter of luck, and I had a lot of clean track out there when I needed it. So, knock on wood.
Did you have a chance to watch either of the two races last week? And if so, did you take any tips from those?
I didn't actually. I'm ashamed to say I did not get a chance to see the other races. However, I did get a lot of coaching. I'm with Flying Lion Racing. It's one of the best race teams around, and we spent a lot of time talking, helping each other get better. And racing is ultimately a team sport, and I really have to thank my teammates, Chad Dick and also Joachim Bacher, who gave me some great coaching and helped me find a little extra pace.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot here on the PCA. That the association does a lot to try and coach and help drivers get safer and faster. How much do you think it has affected your racing and general driving over the years, being a part of this organization?
Oh, I owe a lot to it, both on the simulator and on the real track. It's kind of noticed an interesting interplay as you go back and forth. Things I learn on the sim make me faster on the real track, and things I learn on the real track make me faster in the sim. So, doing both trainings together is really effective. And there's some what's that famous Dutchman overseas? I think he does it a lot and has made good use of it as well.
Well, a 0x run to the win, mighty impressive on your way towards trying to win those $250. Anybody you want to thank?
I thank my teammates from Flying Lion Racing, of course, PCA Sim Racing, and Porsche Exchange, our awesome sponsor for season 10. And you guys, thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. That was J.R. Gregory, our winner. Glad we got to talk to him. We thanked a few of those people already, so we'll continue wrapping up as we were before. Just again, a thank you to the team tonight, DJ, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. And none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports. It's Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.